because if you don't remember, I cut that entire wheel well section out of the car, like completely out. So where there's filler, there's a weld all the way across. That's why there's filler there. I mean, you can see spots of bare metal poking through there, so it's not as thick as it might look. And if we get really, really close here, you can actually see the red poking through from the red Galaxie. So I'll have all the bodywork done on this car finally, to where pretty much all I have to do is just scuff this thing up with a Scotch-Brite pad in the morning, mask the whole car up, and then we get to finally put our urethane high build primer on this thing. All right, so we're picking up with the Galaxie, continuing on the bodywork, gonna waste no time. I already flooded the top of this panel, let that cure before I finish it. I'm gonna start on the hood. I have a bunch of little low spots marked out, so I just got some regular filler. I'm gonna go ahead and start not necessarily skim coating it, but filling, you know, the spots that I feel I need to, and just get that all worked out. So the one thing that I will say, if you're doing this for the first time, the one biggest and most important thing about working with filler is to get the material on, you know, the metal. That's really what you care about the most, not necessarily how it's laid or whatever. I mean, obviously the cleaner you lay this material, the better it's going to be bodywork wise. So you want to lay it as nicely as you can, but most importantly, you just want to make sure that you're getting this material on, you know, the panel. So I'm just going to bulk get it on pretty quick because I don't want it to set. I usually mix mine. You can see there's a decent amount of material on this board, and not only that, I typically mix it to where it hardens halfway decently quick, because, you know, I don't, like I said, I don't want to waste too much time. So if you're just starting this out, I would recommend probably mixing it not at quite an aggressive rate or a aggressive amount. Just do one little small area at a time. You'll notice the spot on the hood that I'm doing right now, I got it most of the way out. So I got the dent about as much as I can get out without really warping the crud out of the metal and the material. So I think I'll call it at that. The one thing I did want to change though is at least see where I was at by putting filler on it, and that'll kind of tell me, you know, how deep that pinhole is. You can see there's a little bit of ripples right here. So this is one of the bigger dents on the hood, which kind of sucks. I wish I could have got it out more, but honestly, I'm just a little strapped for time. I want to get this car done as quick as I can. Obviously, you guys have been waiting for it for a long time. And as much as I would love to just cut the front of this hood section out and weld the new panel in, that's going to take me way too long. So this will suffice just efficient enough to where we can, you know, get all that done. I want to start putting some of the material right here because there's a lot of low and high spots for whatever reason on this spot of the hood. Like I said, that's what I was doing with that other section is a flooding technique. So I'm just going to basically bulk and put pretty much all this material right here, and then I'm going to spread it out evenly across this hood, and we'll sand most of this off. So it might look like I'm applying a lot of filler in these areas. I'm really, like I said, getting the material on first of all, but we will sand most, if not all of this off, to where you'll just see little spots of bare metal poking through. So it's, obviously I want to make my life as easy as I can. So you can see I cleaned the board, that's what I wanted. So I'm gonna go back to where I started now. There's a concave side of your spreader and a flat sharp side. So I use the flat sharp side and I pull it, and that's what actually lays it out. So you don't have any raised edges that you're trying to sand, and it just makes it a huge pain. So like I said, I'm flooding this, so I just want to make sure the material's there. And if you don't know what flooding is, this is a technique I learned from Bad Chad. It's actually very smart, and I recommend you guys go watch his YouTube channel and his videos. He's very informative and he's very efficient, which is honestly the most important in any car build. When you're imagining you have an ocean floor and you want to flood that whole rough ocean floor, and as you sand down, the peaks on the ocean floor will show, and once those peaks show, you'll stop. So that's kind of why we're just flooding the entire ocean floor essentially, and then once we see those, you know, high spots pop up, that's when we're done. I've used that method a ton. I like it a lot. It works well. It's really efficient, and I think we're going to keep doing it. So, all right, I'll call that good enough. Filler is a big pain in the ass to put on, so if you're kind of new to it, just know it's going to suck at first until you get good at it. But it's a good skill to learn. Alright guys, so we're just trucking away at the bodywork on the Galaxie. Man, it's hard making this video like super groundbreaking, but bodywork is really just time consuming as hell, and I'm sure you guys can understand that, but it is coming out pretty well. So it might look like there's lots of filler in certain spots, but you can see there's bare metal pieces right here. I just messed this quarter panel up so many times that I had to sand off and put new stuff on over and over and over again. I mean, you can see it's paper thin right here. There's bare metal spots that poke through, but I've been sanding new layers and old layers off so many times, so I'm just trying to get it as straight as I can. Obviously that's a lot more filler than that's actually going to end up being on the car, but you can see there was a dent in the door right here that I got all straightened out, so you can see there's little spots here. Basically once I see metal pop through, that's when I stop. So like right here you can see that's where like metal's starting to come through. So once I get to that point, usually I pretty much stop, and then I feather all my edges around, and you can see they're all kind of soft edges. That's what you want. These are actually a little bit hard at that. Like these edges are a little bit hard. You'll see that when you primer over it. So I try to feather it as best I can, and then once it's all feathered in, I can go ahead and I can spray a big filler primer over that, and then I don't have to worry about it. So it's getting there. It's pretty close for sure. And like I said, it's not perfect, but it's way better than what it was. I mean, this car had more body filler on it than metal when I got it. So I mean, there was fiberglass holding the rear structure of this thing together. So now everything in this section of the car is all hard metal, which is really, really awesome. So very happy with that. It's actually, you can see it's rusting right there. It's actual metal finally again. So I'm just trying to get it actually straight. So I'll go ahead, and you can see I have a tape line right here, and son of a bitch, I let it dry with the tape on it. That was stupid. Yep, that's what I thought was gonna happen. There we go. Come on, come on, come on, come on. F word. Well, F word. But anyways, as you can see, once I pull that tape line off, I have a nice seam here, so I'll go ahead and I'll bodywork the top. I'll lay a new tape line down on it again. So when I'm sanding this top half here, I'm not actually messing up the body line down here. I gotta make sure I don't do that. So you kind of isolate one area at a time. You don't want to try to do everything at once. Otherwise, as you're sanding down one area, you're gonna be running pits into the other. So I just usually, like any sort of body line, run a tape line across it, apply your filler, peel the tape line off, and then put a new one back on once it cures. So then when you're sanding that down, you're not burying into the next part. So you'll see a lot of guys do that in different areas, especially in this area right here. It was very difficult to get this all straight. You can actually see where my tape line was, but I went ahead and I actually did all the body work up here and then all the body work down here in two separate sections. Now I might go back again and do a little skim coat of filler right on this guy just to get some of these high and low spots down, but realistically, if we just throw a high build primer over this, you shouldn't see any of this to begin with. But you can see the car is getting really, really straight. It's just the, you know, perfectionist in me that's trying to make it perfect. So it looks really ugly right now, but I promise it'll get fixed. Just bear with me. You can see the roof looks really good and the hood is almost there. So I'm gonna go ahead and sand all this stuff off and come back to you guys when it's all ready to rock. Probably gonna go ahead and do like a retro sound or some sort of cool stereo system in this car, so I figured it'd be worth my while to go ahead and weld this thing up. I did the same thing in the Fox body. If you guys don't remember, when I painted it, I welded up the antenna hole in it, so I'm gonna do the same on this car. So I got it stripped, I got it mostly straightened. I'm gonna get this thing to fit and pretty much to where it drops right in. I'm gonna round it a little bit because this one's way more curved than the Fox was. Go ahead and stitch it in, sand it, filler, block, done. Alright guys, so it's like 40 degrees out, so I think I'm gonna call it right here. And I pinched a nerve in my neck when I was like down low looking at the body line of the car. I tweaked my neck really bad and I can barely move my head. So I think it's my time to call it for today, but I'm gonna show you guys what I did. So I'm getting this body line pretty much as good as I can get it. I think it's looking pretty good. You can see it took about 2 coats of filler to basically get it straight. Because if you don't remember, I cut that entire wheel well section out of the car, like completely out. So where there's filler, there's a weld all the way across. That's why there's filler there. I mean, you can see spots of bare metal poking through there, so it's not as thick as it might look. And if we get really, really close here, you can actually see the red poking through from the red Galaxie. So just to get everything straight, I just kind of covered the whole thing and then blocked it out to get my body lines and everything just to match and make sure everything looks good. And you can see the wheel well looks pretty damn good. So I guess I could say I'm pretty happy with that. I just got to do a little bit of glaze, go ahead and get all these little pinholes out. But other than that, I think we're wrapping this side up pretty quickly. And then over here, there was a big dent right here. I'll overlay the photo. You can see now this thing pretty much is completely gone, which is awesome. So I'll go ahead and throw a little skim coat of filler on that, block that out. Almost got this one out. I'll wrap this one up in the morning, do the same thing, and we'll be done there. There's a little dent right here, so that got pulled and then filled, so that's looking pretty good. And overall, I think everything's starting to look pretty good. It's finally starting to look like a decently straight car, which is good, which is really what I want. So tomorrow morning, before noon, I want this quarter completely done. And then from there, we can start working on the rest of the car. So it's never gonna end, but hopefully, like I said, this video, I want all the bodywork done, all of it. So I got a lot of work to do. It takes me all day to do one panel because I'm only one person working on it. So we'll get it done though. Guys, we're almost there, getting all the back sections with the glaze. We've transitioned to glaze, trying to get the car straight, doing all the pinholes right here. The roof's pretty much done, just getting it all finalized. William, Greaser Thoughts Garage, came down and helped me. Super stoked. He actually kicked ass on this car and got a lot of the lead seam stuff straightened out, and he actually knows what he's doing, so that was super helpful. But you can see the front clips literally done. That looks perfect. We're getting there, progress, we're almost there. It's just, gosh, this stuff never ends. You start doing one spot and then you find another pinhole and a low spot, and you just keep mixing filler. I probably mixed filler like 50 times already, so. Dude's got a pretty rad box. What year is this thing?
91.
91, so that's a 90 LX. This is a 91 LX, but here's a notch.
It's a 4-cylinder.
And he's got the cute little baby motor. And it's a 4-second car, huh?
Yeah, 4-second.
No, this will be sick. So you're gonna make this like a pretty rad drag car, huh?
Yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna piss everybody off by putting a Chevy engine in it, but yeah, so I bought it like 3-4 months ago. The plan is to just go 4 seconds, any $4.99
yeah.
88.
Okay, so you're doing the full.
Yeah, I'm gonna drive it around for a little bit, but actually, hopefully in like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm gonna blow it apart, do the suspension, and then off to get a cage, motor, transmission, and off to the races.
Oh boy, yeah. And what size turbo did you get for this?
91mm turbo.
Okay.
So
goodness.
Trying to be God.
Yeah, trying to meet God. Yeah, and he's not playing around. He's already got his Kirky seat in this thing.
Yeah.
Got a four-cylinder with a Kirky in it.
It's gonna look hilarious because it's gonna have like I have double beard lock wheels and all this stuff, and it's still gonna have the 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to do everything correctly for once instead of just like slamming everything together. So I'm gonna have all the suspension and the chassis all sorted, and then I'll do the engine and the transmission.
Got it. Yeah. That's sick. Well, that's the smart way to do it. That'll be rad though. So I'm gonna go get lunch and the 2 Foxes, take some photos, and get a burrito or something, and wrap it up. But hey, dude, I appreciate the hell out of you coming out to help, man.
Love it.
Hell yeah, that's cool. All right, guys. So wrapping up the cowl right now. So this was actually pretty interesting. So when I flipped this thing over, I noticed, and I fixed it already. I wish I took a photo of it, but before somebody had split this thing, like they took literally this hammer and drove it all the way through the backside of this. So this was blown out a whole inch. It was popped through, it was opened up, basically closed the gap, went ahead and refinished it. So I'm about to just tack weld this seam back together, and then I'll sand it and just throw a little skim coat of filler over it, and this will be repaired. So this thing had like a $50 size hole in it. So you guys can fix it, it's not hard, just don't fill it with filler. Just try your best not to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld this up and then go ahead and throw just a tiny little bit of filler instead of that much filler in the hole, and then we can have that fixed and our body line will be straight. So yeah. All right, guys, we're finally getting to that point where we're almost done. I know it's been a lot, but this car is finally straight. You can see like going across all these edges, everything looks pretty much perfect, which I'm super stoked about. But man, this has been a lot of work, like a ridiculous amount of work. But you can see how the light refracts off this quarter panel after all the welding and everything that we've done on this car. Mind you, I've cut the entire quarter panel off of this car. It's finally straight, which has been a feat on its own to get this car to be straight. You can see the front clip's pretty much perfect. This whole hood was wavy, this fender was wavy. You know, I hammered and dollied and stud pulled pretty much every dent that I could find, and then did glaze filler on top to get everything smooth. So pretty much everything that has red oxide primer started like this. And you can see this fender's done. I just gotta throw a primer on it real quick. But if you look down on this quarter, you can see, you know, this whole car is about as laser straight as I could get it, keeping in mind that I've cut a lot of this off. So I'm very, 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 very happy with this. So I know it's probably been a lot on this video watching this whole thing unfold, and you see so much, you see so many places with filler and so many places with different colors primer and all sorts of stuff happening. But you got to keep in mind there's a weld repair on the lead seam. There's a weld repair on this part of the roof. I handmade this section of the roof right here. There's multiple pieces conjoined into one right there. The roof was bent in one spot, like something fell on it. So getting all this stuff to be even remotely straight is a massive feat on its own. Back here, getting the seam to all line up and fit well all the way across. You can see like on that side. Inside, the window channels were rotted out, so we welded pieces in there and then just did filler to shape it all, making sure that the trim fit well when we put the window trim back in it. And you can see all of these edges are perfectly curved all the way around. That's a huge part of this whole thing, is to make sure that all of your edges line up. And same with right here. I can see that all my edges and body lines line up really well. Going all the way to the back of the car, everything's gapped up really nice and lines up all the way across the car. So this is incredibly a big moment for me, because basically at the end of tonight, I'll have all the bodywork done on this car finally, to where pretty much all I have to do is just scuff this thing up with a Scotch-Brite pad in the morning, mask the whole car up, and then we could finally put our urethane high build primer on this thing. And then I'll finally have the car all one color again. Mind you, this car has not been all one color since it was white when we first bought it. The second we started welding on this car, it's been nothing but changing colors. So to have it all one color and smooth and consistent is going to be absolutely crazy. So with that being said, I'm gonna keep on jamming on this car. I'll catch you guys when we're ready to paint this thing. All right, so wrapping this thing up, getting the rest of these panels primered so I can go ahead and sand high and low spots out real quick. Got the cowl pretty much done. I know I went in here and got all these fins cleaned up, which are a massive pain. But right here, so you can see where I was talking about, where there was like a, it looks like somebody took the end of a hammer and blew through it. So I welded up the top, hammered and dollied it as flat as I could get it, and then you can see we have a skim coat of filler on it. It looks pretty damn good. So I'll go ahead and primer this thing and wrap up with the rest of the car. You can see on this side I got this side done. It's close, it's almost there. It's pretty wild to see it all one color, but progress. All right guys, it's I think we can finally say that the exterior bodywork on this car is done. You can see the front clips pretty much perfect. Front fender looks pretty dang good, and then this body line, man, I cannot get over the body line on this car. So the fender's not even tight, so it's just kind of, it's gonna look like it's not gapped right, but this quarter and door is absolutely awesome. I cannot say I'm any more pleased with this. I mean, the before and after this thing is absolutely insane. A lot of you guys are new here. I'll overlay some screenshots of this thing from when I cut it off, but all of this, like door jamb area, was all re-metal worked. This quarter panel is literally off of this car over here. So I cut the side of that car off, put brand new quarters on that car, and then re-metal worked everything and put it back onto this car. So this had no quarter extensions, no outer wheelhouse left. The whole wheel well was rotted out of it. There was nothing on the bottom of the quarter. The whole taillight panel was garbage. Everything was pushed in an inch because it had been rear-ended at one point. All these trunk extensions have been welded in. All this stuff is all new. So the fact that any of this looks as good as it does is absolutely crazy. I hand built my own wheel tubs for it. I made a bead roll panel that sits inside and goes all the way across the trunk floor, and that's where our coilover mount is for Alden American coilovers. And I cut out the whole wheel well section out of this car, stole it out of the red car, and welded it into this one while I put new quarters on that car. So I've done quarters on Galaxies 4 times. 4 times I've done it. And this car doesn't even have the new stuff. This has the old stuff. So then you can see this back window channel. I've had a bunch of rust repair that's been done in here. Went ahead and welded all that up. You can see that the glass fits perfect. This entire area just looks absolutely awesome. I'm really, really happy with that. I just got tape marked there because you can see there's a bunch of little pinholes I gotta fill. But glass still fits perfect. This roof too, oh my gosh, you can go to the other side of this thing. The roof of this car is so much better than it was before. I cut the roof in 3 spots. Welded up the front section I made by hand. This one I stole out of a spare roof I had, and then the lead seam area in the back had been redone. So this all just came out absolutely awesome. It's so much better now. So, and then now you can see this body line coming all the way down. Looks perfect. I am so stoked. You would never know that I cut the entire side of that quarter panel off and sectioned it back in. So I'm pretty proud of that. I think that looks damn good. So yeah, you can see the front section of this thing looks awesome. It's perfectly flat, kind of tails all the way back. But yeah, just look at that body line. I mean, that is awesome compared to what this thing was. I cannot say I'm any more pleased with that. That came out awesome. But yeah, I'm super stoked with this. Thing's coming out. I actually wanted to primer it. So as I said earlier, I wanted to get a urethane primer on this, a high build, so I can let that sit and I can go ahead and do a little bit of a guide coat and actually paint the thing. Well, the weather beat me, unfortunately. I was trying to beat the weather before the sun went down, so now it's like in the 50s. It's way too cold. And unfortunately for the next week and a half, it's going to be in the 50s and 60s all week. And as you guys can see, I'm outside, so I cannot paint this thing until the weather warms up. So I guess that kind of gives me a week and a half to get everything perfect. All the door jamb areas, all the nooks and crannies, the trunk gutters, all the hard to reach places that a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to. I'm going to make sure they're perfect. A lot of progress has been made in a short amount of time. Massive thank you to everyone that came out and helped me. I can count them on one hand, but all those people mattered. They all laid a hand on this car and made it go a lot faster. Special thank you to my dad as well, coming out here and getting all these little hard to reach places done. This thing's coming along. We're gonna paint this car. I'm gonna paint it myself and I'm gonna show you guys how badass this car is gonna come out. So that being said, like the video if you did enjoy. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video with the Galaxie. See you guys.